Coming down in 3, 2, 1. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rich Fields. Welcome to the Buzzer Beat. And now, here's your host, Chorsie Calvert.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the series premiere of the Buzzer Beat. This show is a passion project where I explore my greatest passion in life, which is game shows. Ever since I was a child, I was always fascinated by the industry, from seeing the celebration of contestants when they win life-changing amounts of cash or prizes, to studying the hosts and how they conduct themselves in different productions, to even learning about how these shows are created and produced, from an idea to what we see on screen. Now, the Buzzer Beat originally started as a minor 4-week project to fill a scheduling gap with my first podcast. But by the end of that period, I knew I wanted to develop the show to become something more. So I got to work. It took some years of research and dedication, but I am so elated to share this journey and these conversations with you all. This is a world that has had an immense impact on my life, and I hope this show will bring some joy to you as well. With that being said, it is time for us to dig into our premiere episode on this, the day of Drew Carey's birthday. And to celebrate, I couldn't think of a more fitting inaugural guest than the legendary Rich Fields.
Rich Fields.
Thank you very much, Bob. 30-year dream come true. Thank you.
Rich, all of us welcome you aboard.
Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it.
Rich Fields is a veteran in the television and radio broadcasting industry with over 40 years of experience. In addition to being an Emmy Award-winning TV meteorologist, Rich is the former announcer of the iconic CBS game show, The Price is Right. Fun fact, Bob Barker personally handpicked Rich as the new announcer for the show back in 2004, and Rich continued to work there through Barker's retirement and the first 3 years of Drew Carey's reign as the new host, giving Rich the distinct honor of being the only announcer on The Price is Right to have worked with both Bob and Drew as the show's host. Rich is also a published author. His book, Trust Your Inner GPS, is his true story of how he always knew that one day he would be working with Bob Barker at The Price is Right. It is loaded with inside stories taken straight from the backstage of the show, some of which we will discuss in today's episode. To learn more about his storied career and to purchase Rich's book, you can visit www.richfields.tv. I'm so incredibly honored to have had the opportunity to sit and chat with this man and be afforded the opportunity to gush about my greatest passion in life with a person who I grew up watching, hearing, and idolizing. So let's get the wheel spinning. Rich Fields, what's your Buzzer Beat?
We have such an incredible legend in the studio, so I am so very thankful that you were able to take some time out of your busy schedule to chat with me this morning, sir.
My pleasure. You know, I've been talking up the book. I've done, I think, 30-some podcasts in the last 2 months, you know, when the book came out, and all of a sudden everybody was like, you know, we want you on, we want you on. I was like, where you been like the last 3-4 years? I've been asking for promotion, you know, but now it's good. I'm happy to do it.
Absolutely. Talking about your book, I say let's get right into it. You want to give us a little bit more information about your book and what it's covering? Yeah, I love the cover. Love the cover of it.
My wife took that picture of Bob and I.
Really?
And, yeah. And I don't know if you can see it, but those are the old curtains back there and the audience blurred. But that's in the studio. You can almost see the studio. You can't see the lights up there really in this shot, but on the paperback, I think it's a little more clear, at least a little more vibrant colors. But anyway, that's the curtains hanging in the back of the studio, and that's audience back there behind Bob and I. And I did all the graphics. But she took that picture of Bob and I, and wow, I'm so happy she did, because now I'm able to use it, you know?
Yeah,
but,
absolutely.
The book is basically following me at a very young age all the way to The Price is Right. And something people don't know about me, even if they're a massive Price is Right fan, is that I knew from a young age that I would work with Bob someday. I just had this premonition, this thought, this thing in me, Chorsie, that was like a driving wheel back there, always saying, you're going to work with Bob Barker and The Price is Right. So everything I did in life was with the conscious decision, is this going to get me to The Price is Right? And I got there. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes, don't get me wrong, but it was only when I didn't listen to my intuition or my inner GPS is what I call it in the book. Trust your inner GPS. When you don't listen to your intuition, don't you say every time, doggone it, I knew that number was going to come in, or I knew that guy was going to do that. Listen to your inner GPS. That's what the book's all about.
I'm excited. I actually just bought my copy of the book last night once I got finished with a shift at work. So I'm so excited. I'm going to listen to the audiobook as well. I'm so curious about hearing it. And because I think you are the narrator for it, correct?
Yeah. And, the publishers were like, are you kidding me, man? Of course you're going to narrate this thing. And, I did a lot of voiceover. I'm trying to retire, but I don't like voicing books. It's very tedious work. It's very difficult. And then when it was my own book, I thought, oh man, I hate voicing books so much. This is going to show up, that I hate this. But I had to do a test. I had to do a test chapter. And those who heard it were like, are you kidding me? I almost heard you tear up when you read the line about blank, or whatever it was. And that's the big part of the audio book. You get a lot more emotion than you do just reading it. But readers say, gosh, I get the emotion just through the words and I'm able to create the emotion. So it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Well, yeah, I'm so very excited to dive into it. I've read reviews of the book, which have been incredible. So I'm not surprised that people have been receiving the book very well. And I cannot wait to dive into it. I'm so curious about, because I listened to an excerpt, I think it's on your website. And it was about like a rather kind of, I don't necessarily say intense moment, but a difficult moment that you were traversing with Bob. Is that correct?
Yeah, that was like one of the first times. I was brand new. And that was one of the first times that I thought, oh, God, what did I just do? Am I going to get fired? Am I going to get let go? Because I had kind of words with Bob or contradicted Bob or came up with evidence that contradicted what he said. And I talk about it in the book, and it was over the use of a photograph that he and I took on stage a couple of days earlier. I'm brand new. I'd just gotten the job permanently. And I wanted to use this photo on my website. I mean, we're talking 2004, Chorsie. I mean, the internet is so brand freaking new. Businesses had websites, but like regular people really didn't have their own branded named website. And I did. I had richfields.tv way back in 2004. And people are like, how'd you get .tv? Oh, because you're in television? No, man, because I applied for it. I think it comes from Transylvania or someplace. I'd have to look it up. But I swear to God, there's some country that you can get domains.tv. And so I had this domain, and I said to Bob, Bob was all curious. He's like, what do you need a website for? I said, well, it's just a way to promote myself and, to get stuff out to fans. I said, and by the way, I get email off that website, and they're all asking. I just been named the announcer. Our shows hadn't aired yet. We're taping like the end of summer of 2004. So everybody just got out of their hiatus break, and now we're taping the brand new season. And folks knew this. Price fans knew this. And they were saying, oh, show us some pictures of, you and Bob, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, the only picture I had was like one of those first day photos of Bob and I. I went to Bob and I said, hey, Bob, I showed him the photo. I said, hey, I got this photo of you and I want to put on my website. Your website, Bob was already like 85 at the time. What do you need a website for, And I told him, and I said, I want to put, you and I up there. Folks aren't seeing us yet. And this is kind of like a little precursor. And well, he said, I'd be delighted, quote unquote, Bob Barker, I'd be delighted. So I was thrilled. I got home that night and I posted the photo, and man, a couple of days later, I came to work and I had a cease and desist letter on my podium, and it was like shut down the website and, remove Bob Barker's photo and just all this stuff. And, it was from the production company, and rightly so. They had rights to Bob Barker's name, image, and likeness. And here I was throwing it up there. Well, I thought I got the right permission. I went to Bob. And so when it came, when I got that letter at my podium, I mean, after the shows, I ran backstage. I was like, Bob, what? I asked you if I could use this photo, and you said yes. And man, it's just read the chapter in the book, and you'll see what happens, man. Just one of those days where the veil of Hollywood, that nice glittery facade that you see. And then you go backstage to the old stunt show, and it's like this beat, rank, gutted building. You know what I mean? And
I mean, it goes to show, even in the most glorious of places, even in the most fantastical job experiences that we have, there's still going to be those off moments that kind of bring us back.
Yeah, because there's a lot of stress. There's a lot of money involved. There's network money. There's production company money. There's salaries being paid to all these people. Mistakes don't get made. If so, you don't make them twice. They usually, dismiss you or don't call you back. That's the whole thing is callbacks, especially for anybody on the line like grips and cameramen and stage hands and folks like that. They're on a weekly call basis. They don't know if they're on The Price is Right next week. There have been people that have worked there 30 years, but there's like no job security. You make a mistake, guess what? You don't get a call back. And so, I'm new, and I thought, oh my God, geez, they certainly got a plethora of guys that just applied for the job I won. They could get any one of these guys, and I was really afraid.
Yeah, I absolutely get that. I think for a lot of us that aren't in the industry, but just kind of watch from afar, we don't think about the heightened level of like expectations of perfection and like how much that can dictate your job security, as you were talking about.
Exactly right. I mean, for everybody, not just me as the announcer, at the a probability of flubbing a line or something like that, but models making mistakes, stuff like that, or anything that cost them money or where they had to stop tape and go back, they frowned highly on that a lot. I mean, I gave away a Corvette by mistake. That's in the book, I believe. Don't Kill the Messenger, I think it is, where I accidentally gave away a Corvette. It was another big mistake I'd made with Bob Barker as the host, and but it wasn't my fault. Initially, man, Bob, oh God, the look I got from Bob. It was on stage taping a show, and it was bad. That's in the book.
Wow.
Richfields.tv, www.richfields.tv. Thank you for that shameless plug. I appreciate you.
Well, and that is the beauty of this industry, which I know can be a bit stressful. But you can't really fake the moments, especially on a show like The Price is Right that has such a prestige behind it. Once the cameras are rolling and you start the pricing game, if it happens, it kind of just happened. And as we've seen before, Bob is very well known for when a production mistake like that happens, well, you got the prize because there really isn't any way else for you to kind of redo it. I know there's a clip on YouTube that I've seen recently. It's the 5 price tags.
Okay. I didn't see it.
The contestant guesses an incorrect price. And then I think the model just forgot that the contestant had other guesses because they start revealing all the price tags.
And she revealed?
And like literally by the end of it, she's like hiding behind the podium holding all of the price tags.
Yeah, generally if they're cute, they like to leave mistakes in. You will never see or hear me give away that car because that got completely cut out, and it was a waste of $53,000 for not only the production company but just the chance for an audience to see a killer car like that go up. It was a brand new Corvette, and I mean, it was candy apple red, and yeah, I mean, you can only afford one of those a season, and then this was it, and
it goes to show even the legends make mistakes every now and then.
Yeah, Johnny made very few mistakes. Rod made very few mistakes. Once I got in the groove of things, like linguistically and script-wise, I made very few mistakes. But this was a complete mistake, not only on my part, but the director upstairs, because we had a rehearsal earlier that morning with the same prize and the same copy. And it was just a failure on so many different levels. I should have caught it. The writer who wrote the script should have caught it. The producer who reads the script final and sends it out, somebody there should have caught it. I should have caught it in my pre-read of the show. I knew that game they were playing, and I should have known we don't give the price at the end of the description for this. The guest has to guess the price. I should have known that. During rehearsal, when we showed the prize and did the doors and a new car, and I read the copy, nobody caught it then. The director upstairs didn't catch it. The stage manager didn't catch it. Nobody on the floor staff who'd been there forever, like I mentioned, grips, stagehand, stuff like that, none of them caught it. So that's why I called the chapter "You Can't Kill the Messenger," because that's exactly what Mr. Barker said after he shot me laser beam hatred eyes. And after he figured everything out and we had stopped tape, and he came back and told the studio audience before we started tape again that, well, we can't kill the messenger, he said. It wasn't Rich Field's mistake. That's how the copy was written. So we're going to go ahead and give the Corvette to the contestant. And the crowd went nuts. And he goes, and you're never going to see this again. We're going to bring out another car. We're going to bring out another prize to win on this game. Though they even changed the game because games where you guess numbers are car games, generally. And they weren't going to give away another car, even though it wasn't a $53,000 Corvette. They weren't even going to pull out a cheap Prius or something. It became a bedroom suite and TV or something, something lame. That's another time where for, maybe 10 minutes while we stopped tape and everybody's trying to figure out what happened, that I thought, oh, criminelli. Am I going to get fired? So have fun. Enjoy that chapter of my misery.
I'm excited to read the whole thing front to back, in all honesty. What were some of your strategies? Because I can only imagine a man in your position, as storied of a career as you already had before you landed The Price is Right. There has to be an immense amount of pressure to take on that position. And even you spoke a little bit about the competition that you experienced to even get through the audition process to get to that job. I'm so curious about like your first day taping. It's, permanent announcer of this legendary show.
Yeah.
What were your strategies going into that to kind of keep yourself focused and centered and calm and collected? Because I know for me, like as a super fan, that opportunity, giddy as much as I could put into words, absolutely bouncing off the walls with excitement.
I look back on some old tape from those early first year shows, and I was giddy and super excited. I mean, you could see it and hear it in my audience warm-ups on stage, and if you go back to that first year of stuff, I mean, even my voice, I was so excited to be there. I was, literally, a new car, just over the top. By season 6 or 7 for me is a new car. You know what I mean? So, yeah, not that I lost excitement. I just, learned how to keep my throat healthy, number one, by not being too overly excited and screaming out, a new car. The easier I took the pace, the longer the longevity of my career was going to be there, and I knew that. It was, it was going to be a lifetime job. The Associated Press, when I got the job, said Dateline Hollywood, if history repeats itself, Rich Fields will have this job for the rest of his life. He's just been named the new announcer of The Price is Right. Johnny was there, 15 years, passed away. Rod was there 17 years, passed away. I wholeheartedly expected to be there my whole life. And then, Chorsie, after Mr. Barker retires, the anticipation and trepidation of what might happen was a new host regime comes in, and new producers. And we found out that was good. That was huge changes. They started replacing staff left and right, from Roger Dobkowitz all the way down. And I ended up staying on through the grace of Bob Barker. I almost said through the grace of God, but I found out recently, within the last year, that it was through the grace of Bob Barker that I kept my job between his retirement and Drew's coming on. So I got another 3 years out of it because of Mr. Barker, literally saving my job. They were going to replace me just to replace me, just because a new host was coming in and everything was going to be new and different. And Bob said, that's suicide, you guys. You're already changing the host. Don't change the voice of the show too. There's going to be no cohesiveness, keep them on. And so they decided to keep me on for another 3-year contract. And after that time, when they thought that they were now Drew's show and everybody, knew it was Drew's show, they had no problem with getting somebody else to be the announcer.
Wow. I mean, I know that is typically like industry standard, I guess, when you have someone of that higher caliber that ends up leaving from the show, they tend to want to reset and bring in. It's almost like an election, right? You think about like once you have like your president and your vice president come in, well, the cabinet that's behind them is all replaced with the people that they want that will support them in their goals. So it makes sense. I just couldn't imagine. Because like you said, it's such a unstable moment where it's like, oh, we've lost this legend of a host from the show. I think replacing everybody in one fell swoop, we start hearing that language of, oh, they're making all these dramatic changes. The show is not the same. And so I think it's very important to keep some components that are familiar with people so we don't experience that kind of culture shock of like, oh, The Price is Right is not the show that I grew up watching. I couldn't imagine that transition without you. So that's very, very fascinating to hear.
And my wife and I mean, we thank Bob Barker every day, not only for initially, making me the announcer of The Price is Right, but also, getting me that transition term of contract between him and Drew. I had talked with my wife about leaving when Bob was leaving. The night I came home, it was the day before Halloween, and Mr. Barker knocked on my dressing room door that morning, and he said, Rich, you got a moment? And I was just going over scripts, just got out of the morning production meeting. I was like 5-10 minutes away from rehearsal, and I said, sure, Bob, come on in. And he came in and he sat down, and my dressing room at the time was tiny. Talk about that in the book, too, very small. I mean, there was a large couch in there that took up damn near the whole room. And Bob sat on one of the arms of the couch, and he said, I just wanted to let you know and let you be one of the first to know. He said, I've already spoken with Les Moonves, and I've already spoken with Roger Dobkowitz. And I decided that I'm retiring at the end of this season. And Chorsie, I was sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
Immediately. But thank God something inside me said, oh, God, don't let him know how painful this is. And, the worry, again, and the trip, oh, my God, what's going to happen? Blah, blah, blah. Be happy for him. He's made this decision. You know what I mean? So try to come up with something. And as quick as he said, I'm going to be retiring at the end of this season, I said, oh, my God, Bob, congratulations. I said, that's incredible. What's it been, like 50 years? Well, it will be. That's exactly right. It'll be 50 years at the end. And I got him off on talking about his career. And the whole time he talked, Chorsie, I can't verbatimly tell you everything he told me because in my head, now I was kind of freaking out. I got out what I needed to get out, I thought, and not react like, oh, Jesus Christ, Bob, what's going to happen to, I kept all that in and just said something nice and sweet, and he's talking, and I'm inside my head. I'm like, oh, my God. All right. If this show goes on, it's not going to be anything like what it is now. I don't care who the host is. There's nobody out there at this point that's going to be a Bob Barker. Do you want to be part of a failing show that's going to go down the tubes? I mean, I'm thinking all this as Bob is speaking. And I got home that night and I told my wife everything I just said, do we want to be part of a sinking ship? And my contract was coming to an end at the end of that season anyway. They were always 3-year terms, and it was coming to an end of a 3-year term anyway. And I said, God, Bob's quitting, I mean, as great as the job is, I really did think, you know what, maybe you should get out when Bob gets out too. Do you want to be part of whatever is next? This whole story, by the way, is in the book. I was on my way to host the Idaho Film Festival in Driggs, Idaho. And my wife and I were about to get on an airplane, and I'm called into a meeting we're done shooting, by the way, and I'm called into a meeting. This is Bob had retired now, and we don't have a new host. We auditioned all these people. It hasn't been announced, and they called me in for a meeting, and the story's in the book. I don't want to put it out on broadcast, but boy, after getting a talking down to, they were like, look, you do such a great job. We don't want to change you out. This is the first. I didn't know anything about Bob calling, so I'm hearing this now. We don't want to change you out. We think that there's going to be some kind of continuity between the two shows, and we want to keep you there. So, do everything we just told you, yelled at you about, and go out and have good shows when the season starts. So that's where I found out they were definitely going to keep me. And now the decision really was mine, and I thought, well, and by the way, they kind of told me what my salary was going to be for the new re-up. And I mean, Chorsie, that network money is everything that people talk about. And it's like, wow, for the, job I've been doing the last 3 years, it felt like, okay, that was the warm up, and boom, this is something else. Why are you going to walk away from this? And they told me that they were talking to a real big name that that you're going to be very happy to hear about. And I was like, me? In my head, I was like, me? In their office, I was like, oh, great, can't wait, hoping they'd say something. They did, and I was exited out. And later it turned out to be Drew Carey, and they must have meant because he's from Cleveland, I'm from Cleveland, like we're the same age. I think he's like 8 months older than I am. Same sensibilities. I mean, we got thick real quick. Too quick for some producers, but which ultimately may have been my downfall. But yeah, so I stayed on another 3 years. I mean, there's so much going on, Chorsie, that it's hard to believe. You watch America's Favorite Family Game Show, and you just hear, it's a lovely étagère, and there's a model, and people clap, and it's so much going on.
That kind of transitions into the next question, because I've read some stories online about this, but I don't think a lot of the viewership truly understands what the day-to-day looks like of like recording the episodes, like from the start, coming in, going through the rehearsals, through like the cameras going live and recording that. So can you talk a little bit about what a day of recording in that studio looks like for you?
Yeah. When I was writing the book, I had Roger Dobkowitz send me because I'm getting old, I'm 63, and it's such an everyday thing. You'd think I'd remember all the times of everything that happened in the day, and I don't have that rundown in front of me of the day-to-day times, but just to give you kind of an idea, the call time for me was like 9 in the morning. Bob usually came in at about 10. At 9:15, 9:30, there was a production meeting. That's the director, the associate director, Roger Dobkowitz, the producer, Kathy Greco, the associate producer, the 3 models, and myself. Oh, and the 2 stage managers, Bobby Chick and Doug Quick. So it's a general stage. Everybody that's like in charge of something on the stage. It's a general meeting like that, and we take the script. I go through the script. We, like you would have a table read for a sitcom prior to taping the show, much the same. So we go through all of the copy for the show. We also have a shot sheet from the director at the time. It was Bart Iskander, and it showed there were little boxes on the shot sheet, and it showed what door or where the prize was going to be, or where the game was going to be first, and then where the prize was going to be revealed on the stage, where the model should stand, what side she needs to reveal, what camera is going to shoot it. So it's called a blocking meeting, and that's generally what that first meeting of the day is. So we'll go through both scripts in that blocking meeting at 9:30 to 10 o'clock. 10:15, you get a little break. So it's back to your dressing room to do whatever you need to do. The girls would run back to the hair and makeup area and finish, because they'd be in curlers and bathrobes. And they'd, get a little more makeup or whatever they needed to do, get their eyes put on, get their hair straightened out, so, and then it was time for rehearsal. Models usually weren't ready makeup and hair for rehearsal. So a lot of them were still in their street clothes with robes on and their hair's in curlers. And I mean, there's a lot of photos I have of back, rehearsal stuff or models sitting around, looking at the script on the set, and they're in curlers and some kind of, grubby street clothes, which is odd to see. You don't see these girls like this, and they still look great. And so we get done going through the 2 shows and the table read, the blocking meeting. We do both shows, and you get this 15-minute break. At 10:15 in the morning is the rehearsal for the day's first show. And so everybody's called to places out there. There's no audience. The studio's lit now for the stage. Not the audience isn't lit. Pages are going through the audience, cleaning up anything from yesterday. Sound guys in back getting ready for audio within the house, and we all get our places on stage. And usually we would start with the second showcase of the first show. And we would work backwards generally for the showcases. And the reason being is they would pull out showcase number 2. It was usually the bigger showcase because somebody's going to pass one. And so we'd pull out showcase number 2, and we'd pull out showcase 2. We'd start with this showcase because it's back in the Bob days. They were story type showcases, and they all had something to do. This showcase is about traveling. Let's join Brandy as she, goes to the travel agency to book her flight, and there's Brandy, and the other girl and other models there typing it. And, the best flight she can get is to Bora Bora. And so the doors open for Bora Bora. There's another model there. This is all rehearsal. Boom, boom, boom. Then we go back to that. We go to the first showcase of the first show because they push that showcase to the back of the hall outside. It's the last thing of the show. And they start building. They start building on sets back in the hall so that first game of the day is pulled out, bam, second game, third game, wheel spin as the wheels there in order. Everything's in order back there. Mammoth hallways at CBS, 60 foot high and 100 foot wide. I have seen trucks, 2 of them side by side, tractor trailers in there unloading. That's how big these things are, and there's still plenty of room around them and above them. That's how big the hallways are at CBS Television City. And so we do the rehearsal for the first show. We get done. The associate director says, that's it, everybody. Thank you very much. Everybody runs back, and now you have about 15 minutes, 20 minutes until showtime for show number 1. And that's when you go, for me, I'd get my suit on, I'd get a little bit of makeup on, get my hair, straight and right and everything. The girls are getting their final touches. They're getting their costumes on for the first bit of the show. They may have to change clothes later for something else or whatever. But by the way, I only get like 5 minutes. 10 minutes to get ready in that 20-minute thing because they want me to go out and warm up the show 15 minutes before we tape. And so I have to hurry up, go get dressed, get everything done. No time to even look back at the script, so I better have had it down from rehearsal. I give my script to Kathy Greco, associate producer. She takes it and puts it over on my podium. The house is dark. The audience is loaded. There's some house music playing. And then, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the announcer. The Price is Right, Rich Fields. And then, bam, the stage lights up and there's music playing and people are out of their minds. They're like going berserk. You know what I mean? So, Chorsie, to say that, hey, we want you to do some audience warm-up before the show. I mean, there wasn't much warm-up that needed to be done for a Price is Right audience, especially with Bob Barker. They were so stoked to be there. It was, I loved their energy. When I auditioned there and had to do it my very first day, well, let me go back 25 years. 1979, when my dad and I snuck into The Price is Right, snuck into CBS, it's in the book, and I got called up on stage by Johnny Olson during his audience warm-up. I'm a kid. I'm like 18 years old. And he got done with his warm-up and he said, "Are there any questions out there in the audience?" And nobody said anything. And my dad nudged me. He knew what a Price is Right fan I was and that I wanted to work there. And I jumped up. I said, "Yeah, I got a question for you, Johnny. How do I get your job?" And the audience roared. They freaking roared like a sitcom, Chorsie, like one of those recorded tracks you would hear on Seinfeld. Well, Seinfeld was live, so that was real too. But you know what I'm talking about, like recorded. Ha, 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 ha. And Johnny said, "Oh, you think you can do my job? Come on down." And the audience started screaming, and I ran up on stage, and Johnny handed me the microphone. He said, "You think you can do my job, kid? Use my name. Call me down to contestants row." So I took the microphone. Again, Chorsie, part of this whole planned out thing from a little kid, I guess. How did I know I was going to be at the Price is Right? From a little kid, standing with my mom's hairbrush in Avon, Ohio, saying like a new car in the TV at the same time Johnny did, or a lovely etagere. How did I, as a little kid, how did I know? I don't know. All I can say, it was divine, some kind of divine intervention that told me this is what you're going to do. And then it even mapped out. Dad and I sneaking into CBS, and that day we get to sit in The Price is Right, and I get to meet Johnny Olson, and he hands me a microphone at 18 years old and says, "Let me hear what you got." I mean, it's like a script. It's like a written script. So I took the mic stoked out of my mind, and I said, "Johnny Olson, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right." And the crowd went berserk. I mean, they couldn't believe it. And Johnny, like, he looked at a great actor. I mean, he's a great guy. And he grabbed that microphone away from me, and he said, "Give me back that microphone, kid, before Mr. Barker hears you backstage. Now go sit down." And the crowd roared like a sitcom. And I knew he was kidding, and I was running back, back down the stairs and back up. My dad and I were in the very back row, like stage right, up there where the sound guy is. And as I'm going up there, it's like everything's in slow motion when I think back on it, because I remember Johnny Olson saying, "How about that, ladies and gentlemen?" And they cheer again. And I'm still kind of running back up the thing. And he says, "That young man has game shows in his future." I looked back at him like running up the thing. I couldn't believe it. That my idol. It's divine. It's something from God. I'm sure of it. Yeah. I mean, I did my part. And that's a lot about what the book is about. God wants us to do our part. But so I did my part, and I made mistakes, but I stayed on the track that I thought I was supposed to be on all of my life. Grade school friends, nuns in grade school, I would tell, "Okay, all right, Mr. Field, sure." High school friends, I'm gonna work with Bob Barker at The Price is Right. College roommates, everyone I knew that knows me, ask them. They'd say, "Yeah, Rich talked about it. Yep, Rich talked. He always talked about it." And it's crazy. And when I was taking jobs in radio, I thought radio was going to be my vehicle to get into Los Angeles and Hollywood. And as I would take jobs across the country, I would think to myself, is this next jump into this market going to get me closer to Los Angeles and a step closer to getting on stage with Bob Barker, The Price is Right? And if it wasn't heading west, I didn't take the job. And I was totally hell-bent on getting to Los Angeles and getting a station interested in me. I knew I needed a resume, so I knew I needed a bunch of stations before I applied to LA. It's just the way it goes. You got to have experience. But God, at least I didn't screw it up. You know what I mean? I didn't screw up the plan. Somebody's plan.
Wow. That is such an incredible story. I'm thinking about the fact that, so I was born in Warren, Ohio. So up Youngstown near Cleveland.
I know where it's at.
Yeah. So it's fascinating to hear, because we don't typically think about us that come from like that area, or even Ohio in general, as like having the career transition to make it into Hollywood. So it's such a relief to hear. Like,
is it refreshing to know it can be done?
It absolutely can be done. Yeah, it is such an incredible. So I am mesmerized by that story and that level of euphoria you must have experienced at 18. I don't think I could have been any more giddy than in that moment. Just like, oh wow, yep, this is my career now.
I told my dad that day after I got back to my seat, or somewhere in there, maybe it was during the show. I remember leaning over and telling my dad, I'm going to do that someday.
Incredible.
I mean, he already knew. They already knew. But I mean, that was the emphatic. It was more like, I'm going to do that someday. You know, like I knew I was going to be up there doing that. Not another game show. I mean, I ended up doing 9, but not another game show. I was going to do The Price is Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, and I did. And I wanted to work with Bob, and I got it done. You know, thank God.
Truly, truly remarkable, and a testament to that hard work, that determination, and like you said, trusting your inner GPS can truly unlock doors for you and the goals that you have in your life.
And Chorsie, I don't leave readers hanging on, well, how can I do this? I mean, this guy did it. How can I do this? I don't leave you hanging like, oh, figure it out. And I'll tell you real quick right now, like there's like 3 steps. Easy. You gotta set a goal, a crazy goal, the ultimate thing in life you want to do. Wow, what is that? Bam! Everyone, as soon as I said that, everybody viewing your podcast right now, it just came to them. What do I want to do in life? Because when you say, what do you ultimately want? If you could just start over or erase everything, what do you want to do in life? Bam! Everybody knows right then and there what they want to do. So set a lofty goal, okay? Set a couple milestone goals between where you're at now and that lofty goal. Okay, I'll try to get in the and like a couple milestone goals. Like for me, it was I'm in Clearwater, Florida, you know, or University of Florida, Gainesville. Let's start there at 18, 19. How do I get to Los Angeles? All right, so I'm going to need broadcasting stuff. I need to get in the University of Florida. I need to get a radio job at the University of Florida. That's going to be a milestone goal. After that, when I get out of school, I need to get a bigger market so that I can make my way out to Los Angeles. Okay, another milestone goal. After college, big market, not maybe a huge, but more like a Denver, which is exactly what I ended up outside of Denver. There's another milestone. And then another milestone goal. And then your big goal, made it to Los Angeles. So when you hit these little milestones, you celebrate them, man. You celebrate them like crazy. And you start conditioning your body for this kind of reaction that when you hit these, I can do it. Oh my God, it's exact. I went to the University of Florida. I got the job in radio there. Oh my God, I'm on the air. Finally, I'm a freshman in college, but you know what? I feel like I'm on my way. I got to spend 3-4 years here. So I'm learning now. I'm in the broadcasting industry. I'm hanging around the TV stations. I'm hanging around the radio stations. I'm on the air every day from 3 to 7 in the afternoon. You know, you're building, you're practicing. So in between milestone goals, there's do one thing every day that's going to get you one step closer to that ultimate dream. By that, I mean send out one email, one letter, one MP3. Look up one agent that's going to help you out. Look up anybody else in the industry that's going to be a contact somewhere, a conduit that can get you one step closer to your ultimate dream in life. One thing a day. While you're working at your job right now, while you have kids, while you're paying that rent. People say, oh God, I'm locked down. I'm married. I have kids. I got to pay the rent. I got to go to this job, down at wherever, But you can still work on your ultimate goal and take everything else with you along the way. Trust me, it all gravitates along with you as you make your milestone goals on your way to the ultimate dream in life. You take the wife with you and kids and everything, all of a sudden the entire dream becomes one and the whole dream starts encompassing you all, and it really does drag everybody with you. So don't worry about that if you're not alone and can make quick decisions on your own and not have to worry about a family. And that's where I was. I was young and I was like not gonna get married. I was like, not yet, because I knew what that meant. I mean, she's got family. She's gonna want to stay in this state, or if you have kids, God forbid at that age, and you got a career goal in mind as lofty as getting to Hollywood, to work at The Price is Right. I mean, I knew I was gonna have to be single. I was gonna move town to town, up and down the dial in radio, to get the experience I needed to get to LA, just so I could start auditioning for game show jobs once I got there. I mean, it was a crazy bunch of milestone goals, but I ended up hitting them all and ended up getting The Price is Right out of it. But it's mapped out in the book. The end of the book is 2.5 pages of most everything I just said mapped out for you. It works. Trust me. Trust your inner GPS. It's God-given. I call it God's positioning system, because that's what it is, man. It's this thing burning inside your soul that it knows where you should be. You just shut up and listen to it. It tells you where you should be and what you need to do next. You got to listen. There you go. Boom, boom. And the auditorium goes wild. I do. I speak at, it's such a charge for me. You know, like I said, I'm retired for the most part, but when I do speak and you get to the end of something like that spiel I just did or portion of it, and they, you know, applaud and burst out, it's like, wow, that's right. It's that charge of that live audience again that I miss. I miss it. And it reminds me of like one of those first days of being at The Price is Right auditioning, or being with Johnny Olson, you know, to go full circle. That charge I got from that audience, you know, when I said, Johnny Olson, come on down, it was an affirming electric charge that, yes, that's what you're going to do. And it's great to still, you know, relive a little bit of that with audiences today, especially kids. I like talking to college kids because, you know, they're still like wondering, what do I do, you know? Especially today's kids, right, Chorsie? Man, I wish I could help them all.
Wow. Honestly, this feels like the perfect kind of button stopping point for this, because what an incredible message to leave those that are watching this episode on. I so thankful for you taking the time and your generosity and doing this interview with me. I can't tell you, as someone who grew up as a single child in Warren, Ohio, obsessed with Game Show Network, obsessed with the concept of game shows, but being from the Midwest, and to be honest, never really thinking this could be a career field of mine until I became a bit older. Thank you for kind of reinvigorating me and giving me that energy. Like, it is absolutely possible.
That anything can happen. You put your mind to it, you can make it happen, dude. I'm telling you. You can change the course of reality by living it in your head. I lived it all my life from a little kid. This is what I'm going to do and be. Kind of lived it. And you can manifest it, and it gives you a path to get there. It's nutty. It's so real, though. Stay on it. Stay the course.
Perfect. Well, Rich, are there any final kind of calls to action? Where can people find and purchase your book? Anything along those lines where people can follow you?
It's on Kindle. It's on Amazon. But everything, Kindle, Amazon, the audio version. Go to my website, www.richfields.tv, and you can pick whatever format you want right from there. It makes it easy, one website. Appreciate it, man. Chorsie, you've been awesome. Thanks for having me on.